Okay, so this is an actual real life story that kind of involves porn. Involves a porn actress, but I was working at Universal doing character stuff a few years back. This was circa '98, I believe, and I somehow got number two on the roster for the costume characters for a special event they were trying out on the park at the lower level called the Small Soldiers. Um, I don't know if it was an event or ride because they had like a little bit of ride, a little photo op. That's what we did. We would rotate the characters and stuff. And basically, what happens is you get on the. Actually, we worked at the upper level too, so there was a lot of photo op. It was the first time in my life that I've actually got treated like a rock star. And then when I took my costume off, kids didn't know who I was. I was like, they would have us for like an hour signing autographs and taking photos and stuff. And you had on the costume, which was like a glorified football uniform. I mean, literally, a lot of the pads were actually football pads that were um, doctored. It was like a latex outer shell. I mean, it was like these were like $10,000 prototype costumes, and you had a helmet and all this stuff, and then a few of the characters spoke. I was one of them that spoke, and again, somehow I got number two on the roster. So anytime they had a outside event that was a private function, the number one guy got called, and he always played Chip Hazard, and then the number two guy got called, which was me, and then if I would play Archer. The number one guy, if he didn't take it, I got bumped to number one, and I played Chip Hazard, and then they would call the number three guy, and he would get the chance to play Archer, and if he turned it down, they would go down the line and so forth. So they sent me to 5 different locations, and one of them was Toronto, Canada. First and only time I've been in Toronto, and it's a beautiful city. Went there, and we were somewhere there in like late September, and it was actually warm but not too warm, and it hadn't turned to go towards the snowy season. So and it reminded me a lot of New York in the summer, but cleaner, and the people were nicer. So anyways, on the flight going there, we see this really pretty blonde with bleach blonde hair up in a kind of like short and spiky, but it was up either in a ponytail or a couple ponytails in the back, like like the spiky ponytails where they just kind of put it in a beret and then it kind of comes out, or it was in a little bun. I can't really remember, but I just remember it was up, and we could see the back of her neck, and there was like a tattoo on the back of her neck, and she was carrying this. As we saw her go onto the plane, she was carrying this, like, it looked like a makeup box. That a like makeup artist, if you work on movies and stuff like that, you kind of see certain things over and over again. But it looked like a one of those old travel trunks almost, but square. Like it wasn't the rounded travel trunk, squared, silver, but small with a handle. So I just for some reason thought she was a makeup artist, and didn't even dawn on me that she might be going to the event. And as we're going through customs, they completely hassled her because she was hot. So they basically they had her open up her bags, and they went through, and kind of I think the guy was trying to like go through her lingerie and stuff. So, but that's just me. So anyways, we get through. We have 3 days there at the convention, and it's 2 days of basically photo op. And what they do is they bring us in for an hour, and then we do photo booth pictures, and then and there was lines. I mean, this convention was huge, and there was lines and stuff in it. And there was we were with Universal, but there was other booths from major studios. Disney was there, Paramount was there, and they were basically doing any type of promotion for most likely like either their character stuff or promoting something that was recent. So So what happened was we're in costume, and the costumes were completely hot, and we had to wear a leotard underneath it because there was gaps in between certain areas, and it had to look like skin. Um, and so every time we would pull off our costume, we'd been sweating for a minimum of 20 minutes, and I'm talking like heavy sweating, where it's like you're in there um, uh, moving around, and just there's no air. I mean, you have basically like air outlets, which are the creases and stuff. So by our labor law with connected to the union, we were AGVA connected to that union. You at a certain temperature, you can only be in there for so long. So anyways, they would break us for an hour or so to go around. I think it was an hour, and they told us just to go around the convention. We had to go change in the back so nobody saw us, but then come back out, and we had street clothes on and our leotards rolled down or whatever, and then we would go walk around. Well, I come to this area that I was like, what's this? And there's this huge line. I'm talking double what we had. And I kind of look, and at the end of the line is a girl signing photos, and it's the hot girl that was on the plane to Toronto with us. So I was like, oh, this is crazy. So I get in line and wait, and I'm talking like it was maybe half hour of my maybe even more. It might have been 45 minutes. But I waited all the way up to the top, and as I got to it, I was like, flight 941, and she goes, oh my God, I thought I recognized you. And she signed a picture and put XXX, with love, Claudia Chase. And I was like, thanks. Hey, if you get a chance, we're doing the costume characters for Small Soldier over at the booth. If you guys get a break, come over and we'll take a photo with you. I'm playing Archer, the one that, da-da-da-da. So she goes, okay. And later on, she comes over and she's got another porn girl with her. And what happened was and we're in this truck, and it was like not a real truck, but it looked like a huge Tonka type thing. And that it was for the photo op to make it look like the truck that's in the movie. And so we both get in it, and the other guy, I can't remember his name now. Andy. The other guy, Andy, basically was playing Chip. So we both got the girls and were like taking photos with them. And then the guy, and they were on these Polaroids. So afterwards, I said, take another one, thinking I was going to scoop it up. The second girl thought it was for her and scooped it from the photographer, because I couldn't go over and get it right away. But what happened was we have handlers basically when you're doing costume characters, and you have handlers that basically are just supervisor handlers, and then management handlers. There was the manager, the second manager, and then handlers that were around. Well, the first manager was gone. She had went to take a break or had to run an errand or do something. And the second manager was just kind of like freaked out, didn't know what to do, deer in the headlights kind of thing. And afterwards she told us, she's like, if whatever I can't remember the head manager was, if she was here, that wouldn't have happened. And I was like, why? And she goes, because who knows if the photo was going to get in a porn magazine somewhere of them doing like a convention or something like that. And I was like, oh, really? So I wonder if I should tell the whole story. Well, okay, what happened was that second manager, we wound up having a booth, not a booth, it was a hotel room that Universal owned, and we had a party our last night there. And I go into the party, and it's stocked completely to the gills with Seagram's booze. And I'm like, what's this? And they're like, you didn't know? Universal's owned by Seagram's. I was like, you're kidding me. So there was all this booze that was around, and so what happened was it was just carte blanche on the alcohol. And I was working out pretty good at the time, and they got me crocked, and I wound up sleeping with the manager in Andy's room. But I forgot about that until I was starting to tell it. But Anyways, that wasn't the wind up of the story. What happened was on the way back, we get on the flight, and she's on the same flight. So about midway, I can't remember, it was probably like a 4 hour flight or something like that. Midway through it, the seat's open, and I go up and start chatting with her. And I got to tell you, I don't usually get nervous around girls, so to speak, even ones that I like, because there's always the potential that it's just, you could be a friend, or there could be something, blah, blah, blah. This was completely different because she's a porn girl. And I was just like completely in a different place. But chatted with her for a while and was cool about it. And then basically gave her my number at the end, which, nothing ever happened of it. But I go back to LA. We land, go back, go about our business. And I'm talking to a buddy of mine who now actually is a porn producer, but he just was at the time an actor and a porn aficionado. He's the one that married the porn girl. We're talking, and he basically is like, I've never heard of her, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, and this is way before the internet was huge and you could go in and search stuff. I just wasn't as privy to stuff. There may have been ways of doing it, but it was before kind of my knowledge. But I was like, hey, can I use your bathroom? So I go in there, and I'm actually doing a deuce, and he had to the left of his toilet always like a magazine stack, and it was porn magazines. So I'm flipping through one as I'm, dropping cable, and she's in the magazine. So I just start laughing. So I flip it open, take care of my business, wash my hands, grab it, and then go out there. And I was like, hey, dude. And he goes, what? And I'm like, this is her. And she doesn't have a huge rising and following, but I think she's still working in the business. So, but anyways, that's my official porn story. That my direct. I got another one too, because I worked with a porn girl, and a major porn girl from the '80s, Ginger Lynn. So, but that's my porn story from the time I worked at Universal as Archer from Small Soldier.